Welcome back, everybody. This is Phil Ferguson, and this is the one and only, cleverly titled, The Phil Ferguson Show. Today, we're going to talk about separation of church and state, and specifically Americans United for the Separation of Church and State, the organization that one of the many that I adore. And with me today, we have Alicia Johnson. And thank you for having a name that was so easy for me to say. I got off the first bat. And I don't know, did we chat at the conference that we just had?
We briefly met at the Summit for Religious Freedom. You attended the Organizing Institute, which I ran. So I was running all around the room, making sure that event was going smoothly. And
It,
we were glad to have you there.
and it did. And of course, anybody you can go to, what's the website? Americans United, or is it AU dot
So
something?
our organization's website is au.org,
That's pretty.
but our events website is thesrf.org.
And SRF stands for what again?
Summit for Religious Freedom.
And
SURF for short
yeah,
and for fun.
is that every year?
Yeah, so we've been running it for a few years now, and we already have our date set for next April
What is
in
that date?
DC and online. That date
Question.
is April 25th to 27th.
Okay, so for listeners who are planning more than a few months in advance, you've got eight, I guess, 8 months until next April. You can go check that out and reserve it. And if I recall correctly, there were classes, sessions on how to talk to politicians. And then a whole bunch of people that were there actually went to the mall, went to Congress, and tried to petition for
Yeah.
what the group supports. And oh my God, Americans United, AU, is a little bit different for me from what I normally do because AU is happily, and probably the majority of the members are religious people.
Mm,
A lot of atheists and humanists are also in the organization. And the beautiful part about it is they all share the view that you can have religion over here and you can have state over here, and they share.
mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
what else am I missing? Talk to me about AU.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what one of the things that drew me to Americans United, and one of the things that draws so many of our supporters and our partners, because we don't do this work alone, is that we are an organization staffed by and supported by and working in partnership with people of all faiths and no faith who all agree, right, that we should all be able to believe what we want, but you can't use your beliefs to harm others. So that's really, really, really core to what we do. And the Summit for Religious Freedom, I think, is a beautiful example of that community coming together. It's been really exciting to see that event grow and take shape over the past few years. It's relatively new for the organization. We've been here for 80 years
Yeah.
doing this work, but the Summit for Religious Freedom, I think we just held our third summit, and we get a few hundred folks in the room and hundreds more online that, right, all believe it about those issues. And like you alluded to, just to tease it out for folks who haven't been there but might be
Please.
curious,
Yeah.
it's this 3-day event. And the first day is that Organizing Institute that I mentioned. And that's where a smaller group can get together and really dig into the skills of how to be an advocate and how to talk about church state separation.
And
Because we heard from many
talking to
people, yeah.
who do they talk to after they get this training?
Oh yeah. So I was just gonna say that so many people come to us and say, it can be really hard to talk to some of my family members about this. It can be intimidating to think about going to a school board meeting, or, I know I care about this issue, but I'm not sure who else cares about this issue in my community. And so at that event, we do like practical just messaging. Here's what you can say and how you can think about talking from your values about why this is so important. And then who do you want to talk to? Who can you reach out to? And they're in groups based on where they come from in the country to be able to plan out, okay, who might I be able to talk to and have a conversation about this? So we heard from, for example, one group who was going to reach out to local religious organizations who they thought like cared about this issue,
Right.
and one person who is part of a parent organization that cares about LGBTQ rights, and she was going to bring this to her group. And so people kind of get to spark ideas and kind of define, like, how can I as an individual person or maybe a member of a group make a difference even in a small way, because it's all these hundreds of people taking small actions together that are gonna get us the vision we want.
And since we talked before we started recording, I'm now not sure if we covered this during the recording. So I'll ask you and just cut me off. What specifically is your job? What do you do at Americans
Oh
United?
yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah. So my role is primarily to engage young people in our mission. So I run programs that help educate and raise awareness about church-state separation among young people, and that support young activists who want to do something and take action. So at the summit, for example, I manage a scholarship program that's available to people of all ages if there's a financial burden to attending, but we do have some set aside for young people. And I also manage programs like our student contest, which is running right now.
Yeah,
If you're a young person or you know a young person who cares about these issues, it's an essay and video contest. And we get hundreds of young people each year who want to say something about church state separation.
right.
Sometimes we hear from young people who maybe learned a little bit about it in civics or have heard about these issues in the news. And this is a chance to say something. And another of our key programs is our Youth Organizing Fellowship, which
Okay.
is a program where we really invest in young leaders and who work with us for the course of a year.
Fantastic. And you said AU's been around a long time.
There has.
It was the first secular organization that I ever joined when I
Mhm.
was living in Arkansas. So, been a fan for a long time. And I do struggle, to be fair, because it's me when I'm at the conference and people that I agree with on separation of church and state say things that I was like, I can't believe they just say that out loud. I can't believe that they believe that because it doesn't match my perspective. But I know there's times where we got to come together and work together to try to impression upon political elected officials that they should represent the entire country. They should represent Baptists, Muslims, Jews, atheists. They should represent everybody. And AU, Americans United, is the single best organization at doing that in the entire country. And so you mentioned the Youth Organization Fellowship Program. How many students are involved in that? And maybe a little more detail because I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, so we have 10 to 15 young people ages 18 to 25. So, young adults, college students, people early in their career who have maybe done some activism in their community, but they want to level up. They want to build on those skills. They want to become a stronger advocate, a stronger leader, and they want to advocate for church state separation. So we actually just finished hiring our sixth class. So we're entering our sixth year of the program. And these young people come from all over the country. They maybe are approaching the topic from different issues that they're concerned about. Like they are really religiously diverse. So we have religious minorities and non-religious folks who are so concerned about encroaching Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
And we have Christians who are concerned about Christian nationalism and want to say something from that perspective. They care about book bans and public schools and abortion access and so many of the issues that we cannot protect and so many rights that we cannot protect unless we have church state separation undergirding them. So they get to learn with us, they get to learn with each other because they become this strong cohort of peers. And they get to come up with their own projects where they advocate for church state separation in their communities.
And one could imagine theoretically at some point they run for a city board or a school board or a board. And
We haven't seen that yet, but I would be very surprised if we didn't have alumni of the program running for elected office in the future. They
yeah,
are really smart, really creative, really passionate young people.
I definitely encourage that. If you're in one of those programs, think about it. If you're not one of those programs, think about it. Uh,
Mhm.
One of the things that bugs me, and I know you guys don't want to get political, so I'll be political and you can try to stay neutral best you can. Uh, but if you get a problematic government agency that's doing things that are wrong, often to show their objection, people that have disagreements with that will quit. And I get conflicted about that because you can't be someone placing guardrails in an organization if you just quit. I don't know. That maybe not apply to you. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, I totally hear what you mean. And we are a nonpartisan organization, so we don't take sides in elections. but it's nonpartisan to say that it is good for passionate, intelligent people to run for office, no matter what party they're in. And I see that, and I see this with young people too, right? As they're figuring out their careers, the roles they want to have to make change in their communities. There's this question and this tension often of, do I make change from the inside or the outside? Do I join the system that I want to change? Do I push for change from the outside? And those are good questions, and people can want to take different roles in that. It takes us all to make that change happen. So,
Absolutely. And if I recall, Americans United also does legal stuff. Do you
oh
know
yeah.
what went on with that, or is that not in your wheelhouse?
I'm not a lawyer, but I certainly know that my colleagues have been extremely busy recently. One of the biggest kind of newest things that we've been working on is the federal government's new position on the Johnson Amendments, which says that nonprofit organizations, including religious institutions and places of worship, should be nonpartisan. And unsurprisingly, our current administration does not want to enforce that for places of worship. So we've been intervening in a lawsuit to make sure that our nonprofit and religious institutions can stay neutral, because it protects religious institutions too.
Yes.
And we're actually on a sign-on letter with over 1,000 nonprofit organizations already and growing, who want to protect the Johnson Amendment. So that's been a huge piece of work over the past couple of weeks for our team.
Is that part of the rules that say a lay leader, a minister, a pastor, a rabbi, whatever, can talk about political concepts from the pulpit, at least historically, but weren't there to say vote for this person or don't vote for that person? And
Exactly.
I don't
Right. It's
know.
like Americans United, right? We care about what you might consider political issues when it comes to policy making and the actions that our elected officials take. But we can't endorse a party or a candidate in an election. And that is because, right, we get privileges like tax exempt status. But it also means that political groups cannot, interfere or pressure us as well. And the same is true for so many places of worship that they want to remain neutral places for communities to come together, regardless of political views, as a community. And so that's
Yeah,
what they're trying to change.
I also see it. I look at everything as a business, and churches are a business. Yeah, it might be more than that, but they're also a business, and that's okay. If you offend half the population by taking a hardline political stance, you're going to have less parishioners, you're going to have less members, and possibly less revenue. But I don't know that everyone can help themselves avoid that. But I'm all for it being something that they're not supposed to talk about. And I guess I don't know if it was a law, because nothing's a law anymore. It's just some one person signing documents. I thought I heard, maybe you know more about this. Your employer can now talk to you about their religion and try to promote their religion to you in the workplace. Is that a thing? Is that still bad?
I'm not a lawyer. I know that the federal government issued something around federal employees
Yeah.
being able to proselytize at work, but I can't speak to the broader
That's
issue.
okay. That's some place that I figured there's a high probability that AU will at some point engage and uh,
Certainly.
involved with that. Um, and do you think, is Jesus allowed in schools? Is that a thing? Can he go there?
So our work in public schools is some of the biggest work that we do. It's the issue that AU was founded on. And we hear from folks all over the country every year, and from our report a violation form on our website. If you experience some kind of church state violation in your community, please tell us. We want to help. But so often what we hear from is folks in schools who are being forced to pray, who are hearing prayers over a loudspeaker, who are on a sports team, and being forced to participate in prayer. And we also adamantly support people's individual right to believe and to pray on their own, as long as it's not disruptive in schools. And so the problem comes when you are forcing others to pray, and specifically when those in authority are using that authority power to coerce young people to pray. So that's where we have to draw the line.
Absolutely. I'm delighted you, of course, bring it back to the youth, because that's your
Yes.
It's one thing to allow someone to bring Jesus into school in their heart, whatever that denomination might say, but it's a totally different thing, as you mentioned. So critically important to understand the power dynamics. When the teacher says to everybody, bow your heads and pray, maybe that's as far as it goes, but maybe they then start affecting your grades, which would be clearly illegal. Um, so that's good to know. And I want to
Mhm.
circle back. We've talked about students getting involved in the fellowship programs, but what's the broader youth engagement effort? What are you doing to try to reach as many young people as possible?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, different things for different young people, right? Not everyone has thought or had the chance to learn because of the lack of civic education about what church-state separation really is and why it's so important. So we do things like the student contest, which reaches young people who are looking for scholarships, looking for opportunities, who get the opportunity here to reflect on the issue more deeply than they might have before. And we do speaking programs, we go to conferences, we get invited to classrooms to reach young people with our work. But we also know that there are young people who do care, do know about this issue, are involved in their community, and that's where things like the fellowship come in, where we're more deeply investing in that group of
Yeah.
young people who care.
Excellent. Are there any additional topics on AU or youth fellowship that we haven't talked about that you want to make sure you discuss?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, I think I want to come back to public schools, which we
Yeah.
did mention, but I really want to emphasize as just such an important site of, um, first of all, what they are and what they're meant to be, which is an institution that serves all people, no matter where you are, no matter what you believe, no matter how much money you have, and where the vast majority of us, over 90% of folks, go to public schools. And it's a site of really important advocacy because young people, parents, older community members, we all care about public schools. And we see things like book bans and these 10 Commandments laws,
Right.
and they're not okay. They are fundamentally changing what public schools should be and can be if they're properly funded. And so, whether it's programs like mine that are working directly with young people, we have volunteer programs that engage people of every age. We just had a conversation earlier this week with volunteers across different ages. It was this intergenerational conversation. And there was so much excitement and potential there for people to come together, like across differences, including age,
Mhm.
around these issues that we feel so passionately about, in the sense that we can be so much more powerful together. And so I guess I just want to say like how important it is to invest in activism at every age and in every community, and to seek out, folks who care about the issues that we care about, because it can feel really futile right now. It can feel really hard in the circumstances that we see ourselves in, the political realities, but it's worth it.
Absolutely. And the website again is au.com.
AU.org.
This is why I say this out loud, au.org. Because I fucked it up, maybe people are more likely to remember that it's au.org.
Perfect.
So if they go there,
Strategic.
they can donate some money, right? You guys could always use a little bit more money. Um,
Please donate, become a member, join our email list so you can learn about what's going on in your community, ways you can get involved. We would love to have you as part of the fight for church day separation.
and of course, next year they could go to the conference. They can learn how to talk to legislators and actually go and see them if the planets align and it doesn't have downpouring rain or something, and
Mm-hmm.
have your voice be heard. So, Alicia, thank you so much for being on the show, and thank you for the work that you do. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much for having me.